guys, this is a special one because Lejeune, she is bringing up the tail end of our personal chats, and what a beautiful way to finish these personal chats for the Fourfold Formula, which is book 1 of 3 of the All Things Wellness series that Marcus and I, Dr. Marcus Vetstein, my buddy up there, he and I are writing these books about all things wellness and well-being, and you're part of the family, honey. So good morning.
Good morning. So good to see you guys.
And you just had a big move.
Huge move. And then I had to wait for the apartment to be completed. And so I'm actually, yeah, this is 1 week because I moved in a week ago Friday. So yeah, this is my second Saturday morning here. So yay.
And you came from where? And you don't have to tell me like exactly where, but
Virginia to Florida. Yeah. So it's been hot down here though. And I'm just like, whoo, I am going to melt, which is why, I mean, I'm wearing black. I would dare not wear black outside. And I'm not trying to do that now.
It does wonders for your complexion though, that humidity. You're going to be going back in 8. I lied. I just make it up.
I'm carrying my wrinkles in pride. Okay. So those stars of life. All right. So I'm living in the high desert.
Yes. Marcus is at a mile above sea level out there in Colorado. So Lejeune, this is personal chats. You know, we did our story teasers and you shared some of that, about 250 words of your personal story. And the book is going to come out here within about a month. And so they get to read your full story and that of, gosh, dozens of other people. This is personal chat. So I want to start off. Little girl, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Jamaica. Yeah, country girl up in the mountains of Jamaica. Yeah, that's where I was born.
Big family, small family?
Small family, I guess. You know, yeah, I guess I'd call it small family. Not huge, like, you know, big reunions type of thing. But yeah, small family for sure.
So when did your family come to the US? How old were you?
I came here in 89. My mom actually was the, for lack of a better term, you know, the pioneer. You know, she came to America first, and then she, what we call sponsored more family to come after. And I think it might have been about 5 years that we were separated from each other, that I did not see her physically for 5 years. Oh, okay. I'm getting a little emotional.
Love bug. What age were you when that happened?
When I came in, I was 13 in 89. So I might have been around 7 or 8. Yeah.
Girl, that's a personal story that someone needs to hear. I mean, that's something that it reminds me with the book that you guys are also writing in, Teresa Velardi, who is our publisher. It reminds me of what her book is about, The Gifts of Gratitude, where she wants us to write about 300 words that is like something we thought that was catastrophic and didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, as a little girl, you come to the US and you're looking back going, now I can see it's, you know, you're grateful for.
Yeah, definitely miss those, you know, formative years with my mom and everything. But it was a sacrifice that she had to make that definitely is a large part of the fabric of who I am today. So, I mean, I know that she made that sacrifice, and I'm forever grateful to her.
You know, Marcus is from Germany. And so are you kind of relating to this?
Yeah, very much so. I was just, things were going through my mind like, you know, how many people are out there that are considering, but it is a daunting task. You know, you're leaving a lot behind and you don't know what's happening. It's one of the biggest examples of having to give yourself a push. And, you know, I was just thinking, writing about that, just like Nini did, you know, is very revealing for other people that might not have the oomph to take that last step and really jump, you know. And so from that perspective, writing about something like that also has an impact on other people, in that it hopefully gets others to, you know, move forward. That's what.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to take that leap. For sure.
I was thinking about the age too. I mean, it's tough enough to be a teenager, right? And then it's like you're jumping from another country, different cultures, and then seeing your mom again, and she's trying to parent you, and you're like, hey, girl.
No, well, we had a rather strict upbringing, so there wasn't any of that. Hey, girl, that would have not flown back then for sure. Yeah.
So who would you say, if you look back in your younger years, even if you were a teen, who was the mentor, whether it was school or whatever? What mentor would you say really influenced you and led you into who you are today?
Oh, my mom for sure, hands down.
Is it your mom?
I mean, my mom was an educator for over 40 years, and she actually taught me in the 3rd grade and the 5th grade. I started school early. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it wasn't all this cracked up to because you had to be pretty much perfect, you know. So, and yeah, I think that kind of, kind of molded me into the perfectionist that I am, you know, that I'm kind of trying to divorce myself off, you know, to some degree now. I'm trying to just give myself some grace a lot now in my, you know, older years. But yeah, she was definitely instrumental in my upbringing and in kind of the way I do things, the way I see the world, the way I look at things. So yeah, she's definitely been my mentor through and through, and still is, you know, teaching me things. I mean, now that she's passed for 2 years now, there are some writings that she had that I'm able to go back to and just read. And okay, I made sure I wrote to you just in case, you know.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, so yeah, she's really, to be able to see her hand, you know, her penmanship. She had excellent penmanship, and you know, she wasn't always typing stuff, you know, back in the day. And to just see the beautiful cursive that she wrote things in, and to be able to go through some of her messages. She was a preacher. So to be able to go back and draw from a lot of her messages that she wrote years ago, it's huge, 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 huge. So she's still mentoring me even now. Absolutely.
I remember our first conversations with you, you know, becoming part of the book, and they were so profound to me because you are so eloquent in your speech, and you are such a professional, and you're a technical editor. I mean, legit.
Technical writer.
Writer. That's right. And so I remember kind of having that conversation of shake it off type feeling, that I was just like, I just wanted to kind of sit in it and know it's okay to be that, because it's hard. I can get that way too. And Marcus is a physician, to jump the line over to the other side and to be raw and to be like the human kind of side of it.
Yeah. It took a lot to be that vulnerable. And, you know, throughout these past 2 years, I think I was working on being that vulnerable and then you kind of just pull the rest out of me in writing this chapter in this book. And I'm just like, oh my God, what is this? Oh, this is, yeah. So, but yeah, so thank you, Peggy. You definitely gave me the nudges that I needed to, you know, flesh things out a little bit more and be more transparent. So thank you. Absolutely.
So LaJune, was this your first writings, or have you been an author before?
That's a good question. I was a journalism major, so I've definitely been published before. I was the editor of my college, one of my college newspapers. So yeah, I've written before, but this was probably the most personal thing that ever, you know, I was the story this time. You know, in journalism, you're taught to not be the story. So now I was the story. So it was definitely a different take to just do that. It was a different perspective, which it was, you know, I feel like I have 1 or 2 books in me, but you know, that too was kind of daunting to think, okay, to sit down and write a book, but to be given this opportunity to be a part of this collaborative effort was great, because I figured, okay, baby steps, you know, so this is the first step, and then we'll see what happens afterwards, you know.
I had a conversation yesterday with a gal who's 73 and about the second book coming up, and she's been on the technical kind of side of storytelling like yourself. And again, she's 73, and she's wanted to write this book about her personal side of her life for decades and decades and decades. And to have a conversation with her to say, you have been doing this technical side for 50 years. And so we need to make the assumption that you have also 50 years of personal storytelling to do as well. Right. But you're not going to have another 100 years to catch up. And so to speed up that process and to get into that transparency and authenticity is such a great place. Marcus and I have learned so much in a process like this with 30 writers, and to be held where you find that we are all nervous and afraid to be published and to be interviewed. And so that kind of holding tank has been really cool. So you have a lot to tell. You really do.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, this is only the beginning, right? It's a new chapter. So yeah.
That's right. Marcus, you have any other questions for this beautiful woman?
Well, you know, I mean, writing personal stories, like you just pointed out, is kind of like a different deal. And so, you know, knowing what you wrote already, it's always amazing to see how people, and myself also, go through the process of writing the book and feel kind of changes. And I wonder if you experienced that, Lejeune, with regards to you writing it down and then actually getting something out of it for yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, because they say you're your own worst editor. So I, you know, going back and seeing stuff that I wrote sometimes, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, where did that come from? And of course, you know, working with Peggy there, I knew that there was more to it than that. And to see where I started from and to see the finished product, it was huge, because there were so many nuggets in there and things that came to mind that even now that when I look back at it, I was like, oh, I could have said that, but how many words did you give us? I think it was, I forget how many words. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so I was like, okay, we need to truncate this. I can't be adding more. So it definitely opened up a lot of, I'm gonna say, you know, synapses in the brain to just kind of remember the nuances of some of the things that I experienced and how I felt in that moment and how I felt looking back at it now, you know, because there was a feeling that I had when it was happening. And then there is the growth that's occurred in the past 2 years that when I look back at it now, I can even offer some grace to the individuals that you might have thought were doing something to you, but it's kind of, you're able to see through a different lens, because some time has passed and I can see, okay, you know what, this individual did this because, and I can understand and appreciate it. I know it sounds strange, right? Appreciate it a little bit more, but that's, I guess that's where grace comes in. Once you can look back at something that, yes, it happened, you look back and you see it, and then you're like, okay, now that the emotion, the raw emotion of the situation has had time, you know, they say time, now I get the whole time heals all wounds.
Right.
Then you can look back and be like, okay, all right, now what is it that I could have learned from that? What could I have done better? So it definitely has made me look back at things and see where I could have done things better, or, you know, really do things better. And were I in the same circumstance going forward, I have a better take on how I can handle the situation, you know, but it all comes apart from the growth, right? And which is why, you know, experience teaches wisdom. So now I'm able to possibly be able to then impart to someone going through a similar experience of how to navigate it, you know, a little bit better. I'm no expert for sure, but there are definitely ways that you can navigate certain challenges, and he who feels it knows it, I guess.
Yeah, you're an expert in your own experience, though.
I like that. You like that. You're an expert in your own experience. I like that.
It's your story. So let's give a call to action. So now, what would you say to anybody watching or listening to you right now? What would you say? Challenge them with, or give them a nugget of wisdom? What would you say?
What would I say? I would definitely say breathe.
Well,
breathe. I really had to give myself the time and space to breathe through a lot of things and not just, and not just fall apart. I really, throughout all of this, I found that I had to make sure that self-care was a priority. So I made sure I did the walks, I did the, you know, the baths, I did the trips, you know, little things that fed my spirit. So, and all of that was giving myself space to breathe and to just allow the emotional things to happen, but not to let it overwhelm me. you know, and but to make sure I took care of myself in the process. So important. So
Look at her shining. Look at her just standing up there like she's just got her own little cooking YouTube channel today.
I know, right? I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm in the kitchen. This is gonna be like, okay, and now I'll be, yeah. So
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, down in the comment section below, you guys, I will do a link for our other story teasers. I will also do a link for our other personal chats. You're going to be able to read this beautiful lady's story coming up in the next few weeks, along with many other stories. And we thank you so much for being here, and follow this woman, and she's going to change lives. And honestly, I keep saying, and save lives, because people connect with other people, and they hear the story when they need it. And that's what's going to happen. So, all right, you guys, we're going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. See you.
awesome.